Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good afternoon. It's the Earthmaster here, back on this Tuesday, April 25th, 2023. It's about 12:23 p.m. here along the West Coast in the state of California. Latest activity looks like a 1.7 and a 1.2 listed in the flags there along the West Coast. The latest earthquake activity there on the map. Now, looking at some earthquake activity ramping up here yesterday into the Yellowstone area. We had a pretty good swarm of earthquake activity in a very short amount of time. If you notice this block area right here, the section of the graph showing quite a bit of earthquake activity, including a little separate swarm there late last night as well. It looks like things have kind of mellowed out slightly in the area today. Let me bring up this. There's that latest map there. Hold on a second. That's a little on the odd side. So we're looking at Grant Village. When we go to click on it, kind of weird. Seeing a new signature down here. Not for sure what that is, but it's a little weird. You guys see what I'm seeing here? Most of the time, when you click on the image, it should bring up this thumbnail here. So Grant Village, it is, but also, what's this? That's not showing up on the previous map. Let's see, the 24th, 25th UTC time, up to about 1900, right? Is that what we're at? 1924 to be exact. I find that a little weird, though. Look at that. What is this signature? So either way, I'm going to check on that here in a little bit. I'm kind of curious as to what that signature is. It may not be showing up yet on these other stations, these thumbnails. But either way, quite a bit of earthquake activity ramping up here yesterday at Yellowstone National Park. Nothing big, but the USGS is reporting some of those earthquakes. It looks like about 31 earthquakes involved in this earthquake swarm. The largest, a 2.0, a couple 2-pointers in there. But it's hard to say, though, looking at this data, exactly how many earthquakes are in this cluster of this reading here. It's pretty impressive to see this much earthquake activity in a short amount of time, all cluttered together. So I guarantee you, there's probably even more than 32 earthquakes in this little section right here, which is still earthquake activity. And then you include this area up here, there's probably well over 100 earthquakes in this little short amount of time. Again, hard to decipher looking at all this data that's just jumbled up together. And I'll get back on this here in a little bit and try to figure out exactly where that's at. Doesn't look like it's showing up around too many other seismograph stations here, just locally to looks like the Grant Village area. So we'll check back on that in a little bit. Either way, earthquake swarm dying down from yesterday, but we'll continue to watch the Yellowstone area. I do have a live seismograph station here at Yellowstone National Park. That's going to be this area right here, Lake Yellowstone. Not showing a whole lot of activity. Southern California looks like that's crackling a little bit. Crackling meaning some small microquake activity down here around the San Diego area. Got a couple different swarms, or at least one swarm here north of Borrego Springs on the San Jacinto fault zone. A little cluster of earthquake activity here this morning, mostly small microquakes, but still a noticeable uptick here in that certain area of Southern California. Further up north, a very spotty movement. What do we got here across the Sierra Nevada? Looks like near the Kronberg area. West of Portola area, a couple small microquakes kicking off early this morning, about 11 kilometers deep or so. Not for sure about fault systems up here. There's a couple different faults that run through here, and I'm sure that some that is not listed. Pacific Northwest, relatively quiet. One earthquake up here into the Montana region from earlier this morning. Further to the south and east, a little bit of activity kicking up once again around the oil fields. Pretty good swarm, actually. It looks like 12 earthquakes listed out here, and a quick glance at the satellite imagery will no doubt confirm the location of these earthquakes, located Within many oil fields and wastewater disposal facilities, there's quite a bit out here, folks. There's the tanks, there's a wastewater pond, injection facilities all over the place. And there's, goodness, there's thousands upon thousands of them just in this area of Texas alone. Here's another group of earthquakes located very close to a wastewater pond, a couple of them. And yeah, so those are very active here today. Also, they're southwest or southeast of the Pecos, Texas area. One earthquake here outside of Norman, a 1.9 near Amber, Oklahoma. Not for sure what's out there. It looks like kind of hard to tell with this vegetation out here, but it looks as though there's some markings out here that could indicate some oil fields as well, but hard to say. Let's see what we got. Nothing really. Well, there's North Dibble oil field, and I'm sure there's oil fields out here as well. Sometimes they mark them on the map, sometimes they don't. All right. Over to the east here, we definitely been noticing a little uptick in earthquake activity here. I want to bring back the last 7 days of all magnitudes here for this portion of the country. And notice, it seems like we started a little swarm up here through the Tennessee area, and it's worked its way up here to the northern end of the Appalachian Mountains, where we did see some activity there in New York a couple days ago, and also more recently here yesterday and today. It looks like we've seen a 2.9 in the New Hampshire area, 6.8 kilometers deep near the White Mountains. So this whole area, broadly speaking, is showing some elevated uptick, and that activity seems like it followed this oddball earthquake here off the East Coast that we've seen almost a week or so ago, 4.5 in a very odd area. But it seems as though this has been elevated along the eastern section here of the states and up into the Canada area since that earthquake. So kind of watching it, seeing how this is playing out. The largest looks like there was a 3.4 into the north of Ottawa area, 3.4, 9 kilometers deep. Definitely a little bit of interesting activity taking place there recently. All right, across the Caribbean plate, Puerto Rico area. Latest quake shows a 2.1 down into the swarming area here in the southwestern edge of Puerto Rico. That very typical down there. Let's see, let me bring up the EMSC model here and take a look and see what we got. Caribbean plate actually looks fairly quiet today for the most part, including the Middle America Trench. Did see some activity working its way across the South America region here into the divergent boundary here, the West Chile Rise, 5.5. That one coming in about 4 o'clock this morning. We also seen one from last night up here into the Ecuador area, 5.3. Since then, it looks like some newer activity working its way around the Peru-Chile Trench with a couple threes kicking off here. New Zealand still getting hit down here. Looks like a 4.1 coming in. Nothing showing up here across the EMSC model, but this is a pretty recent earthquake, it looks like, being reported by the GeoNet servers off the coast of South Island, New Zealand. Here is the map. There are some of the earthquakes listed over the last 7 days or so. In the yellow circles, red is the most recent here in the last 24 hours, and orange is in the previous 48 hours. So a little bit of activity ramping its way up here across the South Island, New Zealand area. And for that, we'll go over here to the GeoNet servers and just double check and see what we have going on. There is that 4.0 South Island. Looks like 3.7 there yesterday as well, North Island, New Zealand area. Quick glance at the earthquake drums. Looks there's that earthquake kicking up, the 4-pointer. Mostly on the southern areas, right? That's going to be the closest station. And it's fairly recent here, happening within the last couple hours. Looks like strongest showing up here across this station called PAPS. Is that right? Hopefully. Yeah, I think that's the only way I can pronounce that. But aside from that, still think we need to watch New Zealand area. It's definitely been showing some uptick here. Continue to keep that in mind. Volcano drums, Taupo super volcano. Some activity from last night. Looks like things have kind of mellowed out here over the last 18 hours or so. No major elevated uptick, it looks like, for now. All right, man, I got 100 different Yellowstone stations keyed up here. Back out of here. What do we got? Another earthquake being reported. This one, a 1.4 up here in a little separate area of Yellowstone, happening within the last hour. All right, let's zigzag up to the Alaska area. Nothing showing up here in the last hour. All small microquake activity, it looks like, throughout the last 24 hours. Nothing major going on across the Aleutian Trench or the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. We did have a little bit of earthquake activity here off the coast of Japan. Looks like some movement here into the Yellow Sea area as well. That one, a 4.7 coming in this morning time period. Here's the one in the Japan Trench, 58 kilometers deep. Looks as though we're starting to want to get some migration here further inland away from the plate boundary. That tells me right there that things are building up across the Kuril-Kamchatka and the Japan Trench area. Pretty active throughout the Philippines area southward today into the Indonesia region. Starting to get that clutter effect here of earthquake activity. Again, most of it's below the 4.0 or a 4.5 threshold that USGS uses. That's why we see it here on the globe from the EMSC and not so much on the USGS map. But kind of like to intertwine both of the agencies here to cover everything. There's that 7.1 from yesterday. Just about ready to drop off the 24-hour map in that area of the 7.1 Indonesia, Sumatra region. We did see some, looks like some 2s and 3s, even a 4.9 aftershock activity. No migration along this plate boundary yet, but still kind of watching this area. Haven't really seen it, and a lot of times it should be advancing, and it's just not. It's wanting to continue to build up here in extreme fashion. And we've been seeing quite a bit of larger scale movement here recently into the Java Trench area. Looks like that's going to continue. One earthquake way up here near the Caspian Sea, it looks like. What do we got? 4.5. Turkey area showing a little bit of elevated aftershock activity today. And around the Mediterranean, a 4.2 and a 3.4 showing up here. Nothing here from the USGS. Let's see what we got. 4.2. Central Mediterranean Sea area coming in pretty recently, it looks like. Seen a handful of quakes here over the last week or so into this area of the Mediterranean. So we'll watch that for some potential movement. The Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet, pretty clear. No earthquakes there to report from the USGS. Nor the EMSC, so things looking pretty quiet out there. All right, let's see what else we got. We'll run over to the Space Weather Department here real quick from the solarham.net site. And, oh yeah, let's see what's going on with this new sunspot region here. Going to be this one. Oh, goodness. It's got a couple different sections here of polarities, but they're well separated. It was looking a little bit more promising last night, but we'll continue to watch this for some advancement. And but right now it looks fairly stable in terms of any potential solar flaring. It doesn't look likely from that sunspot, nor any of these other sunspots. Pretty much entering into a quiet period for the visible disk. Although way out here on the northeastern limb, it looks like we may have something a little promising. But I always say that, right? And it comes out quiet as can be. So hopefully things will pick up here a little bit from this newer sunspot. It does have some interesting looking magnetic lines up here. Notice these arcs looking fantastic looking, actually. So a little bit of flaring going on there from this sunspot. Also this departing sunspot here on the southwestern limb. But this one's rotating away, and we're going to be getting a visual here on this area pretty soon in the coming days. Right now, 50% chance for C flare, M flare at 10, X flare at 1%, proton event 1%. And as you can see, there's not a whole lot happening here across the auroras. Minimal activity. Looks like a little enhancement of solar wind coming in to kick up some auroras there on the dark side of the Earth. Unlit side of the Earth, I should say. But we're really not forecasting anything major. Looks like a potential for G1 storming as listed here on the 3-day geomagnetic forecast, but nothing major coming in currently. Alrighty, let's see what we got here for space or storm prediction center. Any severe weather going on today? Looks like a slight chance of severe weather across mainly Texas into southwestern Oklahoma. 5% chance tornado risk out there. Wind event. Looks like the main deal is going to be some hail. 15% chance for some large hail out there in the hatched area. But either way, this area is getting some much needed rainfall. Areas of Oklahoma into this area of Texas as well. That's good news to see. Definitely good news for the farmers, and hopefully put a drought or a dent in the drought conditions out there. Current day outlook here for tomorrow shows about the same thing. A little bit of more enhanced potential for some severe weather. It looks like centered over Dallas-Fort Worth area with a 5% chance for tornado risk. Wind event up there as well, around 30%, and there's that hail threat as well. So a little bit more of an enhanced risk for tomorrow for severe weather. That includes areas around Dallas, Fort Worth, as mentioned, Arlington, Texas, Garland, Texas in there as well. Looks like Florida's playing in on the severe weather part as well, although they're in a slight chance for severe weather category. Either way, just heads up here over the next couple days dealing with that severe weather, but rainfall, that's definitely a good deal. I want to go over here to windy here real quick. That is going to be a pretty awesome sight that, well, it kind of shows the weather patterns out here, and there's many different options and layers that you can include, including wind gusts, temperature, rain and thunder. I do want to check out rain accumulation here over the next, what do we got? Next 3 days. This is just an estimate here from the ECM model. And next 3 days or so, showing quite a bit of rainfall here across Oklahoma and the Texas area. At least one area looking close to 3 inches or so. Next 10 days, those areas fill in quite a bit. Look down south here, south of Dallas area, 6 inches or so. And there could be localized heavier events from the thunderstorms. But much needed rainfall out here into this area of Oklahoma. That is some good news. Kansas, southwestern Kansas as well. These guys are like right in the extreme drought category right now. So hopefully that puts a huge dent. Also, if you notice here along the west coast, it looks like coming up next week here, we got some more rain coming into the California area. And this is our dry pattern. Our rainy season normally lasts from about November to March. So in the summertime or spring and summer, we don't normally get rain like they do out here across completely different climate out here, right? Spring rain, thunderstorms and whatnot, and during the summer months, this pattern tends to shift north a little bit due to the weather patterns. But rain out here in the end of April and May, just not all that common. So we'll see if see how well this plays out. Looks like a low pressure system here, going to be spinning up some moisture. But either way, much needed rainfall. That's good news. Not going to complain, right? All right, what do we got here? Earthquake coming into the this little section of plate right here. It's a well-defined feature, not only here from the air when you're flying over the area in an airplane, or on a map, or even when you're driving out here. You can see distinct features of this whole setup. And this is the shear fault zone, Garlock fault shear zone. I believe this does play a major part on the southern end here of the San Andreas fault. This is the plate boundary here. Garlock Fault shear zone runs completely opposite of what this does, right? Got a different fashion here of the plate movement. And, you know, I can't help but wonder how tight and wound up this area could be around the, I guess it'd be just south of the Bakersfield area, roughly right about here. I wonder if, you know, if we see a big earthquake within this area, if it wouldn't trigger the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. Very good possibility. But for now, it looks like a 2.2 east of the Edwards Air Force Base, out in the middle of this area. That's a little odd. Not really showing any specific faults out here, but we know they're out there. Automatic status doesn't look like anybody's felt it, but not a whole lot of historical data out here either within that section. There's some other larger earthquake activity, of course, in that region I was just showing you guys. I'm not for sure when the last one struck here, but definitely a good accumulator of stress, the way the plates interact with each other. All right, folks, I know what I'm doing today, and that is some more yard work before the 90s and 100s hit here. Actually, we're supposed to be close to 100 degrees here in a couple days in Northern California, so we go from a very wet, cold winter to extreme hot. All of a sudden, extreme heat. I'm not a big fan of that, so I'm going to take advantage of the temperature right now. It's about 80 degrees here in my backyard, so get some more yard work done. And we'll be off here on the side, just kind of monitoring the activity. If anything big pops up, of course, we'll be here to provide an update on what's going on. But for now, enjoy your Tuesday. And take care. Hope everyone has a safe, enjoyable day. We'll catch you guys back here later tonight with the update.